On Thursday, Sky News held its People's Forum debate in the Wentworth electorate to let undecided voters hear from candidates and the policies they're bringing to the federal election. The debate was held between incumbent Dave Sharma and independent rival Allegra Spender, and it seems only Dave Sharma and Allegra Spender.
Hello and welcome to the Sky News Wentworth People's Forum here at the beautiful Sydney Cricket Ground, the Members Pavilion. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the two candidates, Dave Sharma and Allegra Spender.
Sorry, but there is in fact at least one other candidate you do need to know about. His name is Daniel Lewkovitz of the Liberal Democrats, and he joins us here now on Outsiders. Daniel, welcome. How are you?
Thank you for having me, and it's nice for Sky occasionally to invite me to things.
Oh, we're thrilled to. I said bring your mug along, and you actually did. I actually meant your face so that people knew what you looked like, but you've got your mug there as well. Now, Daniel, we saw Dave Sharma and we saw Allegra Spender. As far as I'm concerned, there's no difference between the two of them. Conservatives need a conservative choice. They're not getting it from either of those two. Give us your pitch why you should be the Conservatives' choice in Wentworth.
Look, I agree with a lot of people that voters in Wentworth and everywhere else are looking for an alternative, and particularly an alternative for the major parties. But I also think that voters, and certainly voters in Wentworth, are smart enough to see through the Climate 200 candidates and know that they're not independent at all. Now, if you drove around the streets of many of these suburbs, you'd see the face of the Climate 200 candidate and their visage beaming down from every building, and it would be like going to a peasant village in China where there's a photo of Xi Jinping on every front door. I mean, it's largely meaningless. I mean, yes, I've probably nailed my face to a few poles around town, but I don't even have my own face on my own front gate. I find the whole thing really sort of weird, but it's amazing what a campaign can do when they have so much money behind them. I mean, those things are $20 each, and you ring up and say, I want 10 of them, they'll be on your doorstep the next day. And you have to question why all that money is there. And I think the answer is because there are some very, very wealthy people who are looking to make themselves a lot more wealthy, and it's going to be ordinary people who are paying for it. And when you ask people, as I do every single day when I'm down at the shops, what are your biggest concerns? Well, if you believe some of the push polling you'd hear, oh, it's climate change, that's crap. It really is. The one thing that everybody is telling me about is cost of living. And so I am terrified about any sort of policy, including renewable energy targets, carbon taxes, mandatory emissions trading and things like that, that's going to push prices up for ordinary Australians. And it won't just be on their electricity bill. Energy goes into the cost of every single thing you buy and every single thing you are. And because we're in a country where the government says, well, if you do this job, this is how much your boss has to pay you, wages get very fixed, and as costs go up and up and up, it's going to make things harder and harder for people. And meanwhile, at the other end of that, you've got billionaires who are using their political influence to make further money, and they're taking that money away from ordinary Australians, and that's not right.
Rita.
Well, Allegra Spender was asked about the cost of living during this debate you weren't invited to. Let's have a listen to her.
You have solar panels on your house, and how many electric vehicles are in your garage?
So my answer, I live in a terrace house, so no, I don't have solar panels on the roof, and I don't have an electric vehicle in my garage. I've got one of the Commonwealth Vehicle Scheme. My family's got one car. Between the five of us. I've also got a little scooter, a Vespa.
So I tried very hard to get solar panels on my house, but I'm in a strata area and I couldn't, in relation to what was happening with neighbours.
Well, yeah, that wasn't the question or the answer I was referring to, but she was asked, and she suggested people buy electric cars because then you won't have to pay for petrol. So that's fantastic advice for people who can't afford petrol. You're saying cost of living is a huge concern for people in Wentworth, but we know it's a fairly affluent demographic. Are they somewhat insulated from the policies being pushed by the likes of Allegra Spender?
I think there are some people who are. I mean, there's certainly people who have, big banners out the front of their house, and they've never seen an electricity bill. They used to be called, the doctors' wives and the Chardonnay socialists. But not everybody in Wentworth is like that. I mean, we have people in Wentworth, and admittedly the living cost is high just to buy into a place there, but they're struggling. I mean, one of the things that really upsets me is that there are people in Sydney, and there's a big Sydney, there's a big Australia beyond Wentworth, who might be working 3, 4 jobs just to put money on the table. And the cost of everything they do is going to go up so that someone in Wentworth can have a subsidised electric car to drive their daughter to private school. And that's not right. And it's this total lack of awareness, and in many cases, the hypocrisy that comes of it. I mean, you saw it in that grab there where they're saying you should have electric cars and you should have solar. But not me. I mean, I don't have that because I live in Australia. And it's the same as, here, have a free campaign T-shirt that was made in India and sent here on a bunker fuel spewing ship made by slaves, sent here spewing out fumes to say, stop climate change.
Daniel, it's all very well and good to attack Allegra Spender and hypocrisy of, rich lefties in Wentworth over solar and all of that. But what policies do the Liberal Democrats have to bring down the cost of living? And are you concerned that by running as a spoiler candidate here, if enough votes are drawn from Dave Sharma to you, you could wind up giving the seat to Allegra Spender and potentially, in a hung parliament situation, putting Anthony Albanese in power?
So let me answer the second question first, because it's a very important one. And I've had a lot of people come charging up to me and demanding to know where are my preferences going. And most people don't actually understand the way our system works. Your preferences go exactly and only where you want them.
But
so if you put me at number 1 and you want to put Labor 2 or Liberal 2 or UAP 2, that's the only place it goes.
But where will you be telling people on your how to votes how to direct their preferences?
Well, I'll certainly be telling them to put me at number 1. And in respect to the policies that the Liberal Democrats have, that's another great question. If you look up the Freedom Manifesto, it's available via my website and the Lib Dems, you can actually see all the policies articulated. And, when you go to some of these other candidate websites, it's so light on detail.
Which of those policies will bring down the cost of living?
Okay, so the biggest one is small government and lower taxes. I mean, one of the things that amazed me, secret for viewers at home, people who come to Sky often get to do their own makeup. If you go to the ABC, they have a budget in the millions of dollars to put makeup on. And there is so much government waste, and both major parties are giving money away, billions here, billions there. That money comes from ordinary Australians, and as much as 50% of what people should be able to keep, they're giving away, and the government are not looking after it responsibly. So both major parties are just about, say what you want about spending like it's...
But you dodged the question. Where will your preferences go? I mean, Allegra Spender's been asked repeatedly, if you get in there, who are you going to stand with? If it's a hung parliament, your how to vote cards, who comes first, Labor or Liberal?
Well, the Liberal Democrats already have an agreement with the United Australia Party to put them at number 2. But again, I mean, people can do whatever they want. The thing is, I would be putting minor parties first, because that sends a message to the major...
Allegra's above Sharma on your how to vote card?
She's not a minor party, right?
But she's an independent.
But I think...
She is an independent, but the point is, I think Australians need to tell both major parties that we've had enough. And look, what you want to do 4, 5, 6 further down the page, is really up to you. So I'm not actually going to be encouraging people. I'm going to encourage people to look at what candidates actually say, not pictures on a fence.
Sure, but
the bigger question. Sorry, James. The bigger question is, if you get in as the member for Wentworth, who will you support if it's a hung parliament? That's the question.
Sure. Well, look, the policies are very, very clear. Generally, I am about things that encourage lower government, smaller government, lower taxes, things that once upon a time the Libs did stand for. So generally speaking, I'd be going there. I'd be steering as far away from the Greens as is possible. And, the policy
So
platform...
can a Conservative feel confident voting for you if you are the member for Wentworth, that you, and it was a Liberal Party that was, and you guys, say there's 2 or 3 of you, had to decide you would go with the Libs?
Well, I mean, if you look at some of the signs I've put up around the eastern suburbs saying no to woke virtue signalling, promoting nuclear energy. These are things that are going to help ordinary Australians. I mean, I run a business. I'm a business owner. I understand the impact that all of these ridiculous policies have, not just on people at home, but on businesses. And it's something I do. And I mean, in actual fact, I would like to now challenge Dave Sharma and Allegra Spender to debate me on nuclear energy, because if they're insistent on having a low emissions, clean energy source, and we want something that's going to keep the lights on, The fact that we're not talking about nuclear says to me that we're making billions of dollars for people who can make things in China and have them added straight to their share portfolio, but it's not going to help ordinary Australians. So if they've got the guts to talk about a technology that's safe and that actually works, they need to debate me on nuclear.
There you go. Daniel Lewkovitz running for Wentworth. You heard it here on Sky. You make up your mind.